Tonight on ANC, he was a boy from a family of modest means, a newsboy and shoeshine boy who proved his intellectual mettle in school and later to a sympathetic mentor named Jovito Salonga. A personable charmer, Art Panganiban was a successful businessman with social and political connections. Then President Fidel Ramos believed in him so that he appointed Panganiban as a Supreme Court Justice. Now, after Hilario Davide's retirement, Panganiban wins against close contender Justice Renato Puno, is appointed the 21st Chief Justice of the land by President Gloria Arroyo, and will serve 11 months before his own retirement in December next year. While eyebrows are raised about perceived proximity to Malacanang, the more urgent of concerns are about the new Supreme Court's role in potentially historical decisions that could empower the present administration further and/or change the course of the entire nation through charter change. Who is Artemio Panganiban as Chief Justice? How crucial is the Supreme Court today in Philippine history? In a rare one-on-one interview with the country's Chief Justice, we ask and answer tonight on ANC. Hello, I'm Korina Sanchez in a special presentation of Tonight on ANC. As it is always, this is your watch and we ask your questions. Tonight we present a rare opportunity to welcome a newly appointed Chief Justice to the Supreme Court. It might also be what you may say as a rare chance to peer into Chief Justice Artemio Panganiban's mind and into the future of both the Supreme Court and all that it affects within its jurisdiction, and that is everyone. The questions were uncensored and were asked while being taped as live this morning, the first day of the Chief Justice in office. Mr. Chief Justice, magandang gabi po sa inyo and congratulations.
Magandang gabi po sa inyo din at maraming salamat sa inyong pagbati.
Hindi siguro magiging pangkaraniwan o hindi pangkaraniwan na kilala ng taong bayan, ng masa, kung sino ang Supreme Court Chief Justice. Siguro ito po ang magiging kauna-unahang pagkakataon na may makakasama kami na parang abot kamay ang Chief Justice para sa masang Pilipino. Ito po ba ay sadya po ninyong gustong imahe ninyo bilang pinuno ng Supreme Court?
Well, hindi naman sa imahe. Ang akin lamang ay kailangan malaman ng taong bayan kung ano ang aming ginagawa. You know, the Supreme Court thrives because of public trust and confidence. And in this day and age of information, public trust can be earned only when the public understands what we are doing. In the past, the Supreme Court was a fortress. It was a Mount Olympus. But those were the days gone when people will accept anything that the Supreme Court, in all its mystery, may hand down. But those days are gone. The EDSA spirit of transparency, of public information, has penetrated all offices of the government.
All institutions.
All institutions, all offices, all officials for that matter. And I don't think the judiciary can be an exception. Of course, there are certain things that must be kept confidential, like how we discuss, how we vote. That is kept from the public. But many other aspects of our lives, even our private lives, are now subject to scrutiny. And we have to live, or at least learn to live, in that atmosphere of transparency demanded by our Constitution and by our people.
Does this now redefine your, apparent and emerging relationship with the press, for example?
It's not really a different thing for me. You see, I became chairman of the Committee on Public Information of the Supreme Court way back in 1999. And in the year 2000, I wrote a book, more than 500 pages, on the need for transparency. That book is, I think, my 5th book in the court.
I think you're the only one, unprecedented, that has published books every year.
Well, every year I write a book as my way of reporting to the public on my magistracy. Since we do not really publicly proclaim our work, at least there is a permanent basis by which I think the public, the litigants, the lawyers can have a reference in judging us. It's difficult to judge others. It's probably more difficult to judge the judges. There must be some factual basis for that, and I'd like to provide that factual basis.
Is that going to be dangerous, you think? That will you continue to be publishing books as Chief Justice?
Yes, I intend to continue with my annual work of publishing a book, by which, as I said, public may judge us. I do not mind people saying I'm good or I'm bad or I'm superior or I'm inferior, provided that they know the facts from where they speak. The facts must be clear, must be agreed upon, must be true. The opinions need not be unanimous, need not be the unanimity of a graveyard. Because in a democracy, the vibrancy of a democracy depends upon the free market of ideas. But the free market of ideas must be based on known facts or agreed facts. Otherwise, there will be no end to debates.
What is your comment on the opinions of some, not a few, that in breaking tradition, in choosing you over others who they say are more senior, there has been a failure to project independence?
Well, I do not know where they got the so-called rule of or tradition of seniority. But the facts were borne out by a column of Mr. Federico Pascual. I think it was in the early part of December. He says, there had been 20 Chief Justices since the Supreme Court was organized in 1901. And of the 20 Chief Justices, 10 were not the most senior in the court when they were appointed. So he poses the question, is there really a seniority rule or tradition when one half of the 20 Chief Justices were not the most senior when they were appointed?
So you are not the first one, definitely not the first one.
No, I'm the 11th of 21, you can put it that way.
I understand Justice Tihanki had to go through so many, what they call bypasses, before he made it.
Let's put this in perspective. I'm quoting, as I said, Mr. Pascual, because I don't want to be drawn in a debate where I may benefit. Let the public judge. Mr. Pascual says, the first Chief Justice Arellano, cannot be said to be a senior or a junior. He was the first, so there's no basis to judge whether he was senior or junior. So the best that can be said is there was no seniority rule. The second Chief Justice was Victorino Mapa. He was not the most senior when he was chosen. Florentino Torres was the most senior. The next Chief Justice was Araulo, Manuel Araulio. He was not the most senior. The most senior was Finlay Johnson. And then even the great Chief Justice Ramon Abansenia was not the most senior. There were three others who were more senior than he. Finlay Johnson, Street, and the great George Malcolm. And then Jose Yulo, the fifth justice who was not the most senior, was in fact a complete outsider. He was not even a member of the Supreme Court.